Hi everyone! I'm back with another project. I thought today it would be fun to do a classic craft, paper weaving. Now you can use any paper that you happen to have. I used construction paper, but you can use regular paper, you can use paper torn from a magazine, you can use pretty much anything you've got. The only thing is you're going to want at least two colors. I'm going to be using for the demo, I'm going to be using orange and red. And then you're going to want one more piece of paper that's a little bit smaller. So I grabbed a regular piece of printer paper because it's a little bit smaller than this paper. Just a regular white piece of paper. That's just for the back when we get done. So any two colors. Now, our younger artists are going to want to cut probably some bigger strips. Our older, more experienced artists, you can cut pretty small and see what kind of patterns you can make. But I am going to show you how to do some paper weaving. Now this is exactly the same technique that you would use if you were, well, not exactly the same technique, but very similar to the technique that you would use if you were weaving cloth. For our purposes though, we're going to use paper. It's a little more fun, but the technique is very similar. So you're going to take one of your pieces of paper and cut it into relatively equal sized, it doesn't have to be exact, equal sized pieces going this way. So I've already cut mine. So I've got a bunch of red strips that go this way. So these ones are shorter. Then you're going to take your other color and you're going to cut this one. Whoops, that piece of paper just wants to join us. You're going to cut this piece of paper into strips, long ways. So you can see I've ended up with a bunch of long orange strips. And you can, like I said, you can make these really skinny if you want to make your pattern very complex, or you can make them bigger if you want to just get used to weaving, or if you want a really fast project. It's just a little easier to work with the bigger, wider strips. So once you've got your strips cut, again, you want one color cut this way and one color cut this way. So you've got a bunch of really long pieces and a bunch of really short pieces. Once you've got those cut out, you're going to want to take your long pieces and take one out of the pile. I have one that got a little torn up when I pulled it out of the construction paper package. So we're going to use that one. So we're going to put that one to the side. And I want you to line your pieces of paper back up. And I'm going to overlap this a little bit just so you can see what I'm doing. I want you to try to basically recreate the paper, but just a little bit smaller because you took a strip out. And you can take more than one strip out if you want to. Just make sure you take kind of the same number out each time. That will let you have some flappy ends when we get finished. You cannot take a strip out and you will end up with just a very solid piece. I think it's fun to have the fringe though. All right, so we've got our pieces. I'm going to try and shift them up a little bit. Oops. Try and get everything back where it's supposed to. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can have spaces between them. I'm probably going to get a little shuffled here in a second myself. But I want you to get that extra piece so that half of it's underneath your strips and half of it's sticking out so that you've got some space there. And you're going to take your tape and you're going to pull out a big piece of tape that'll go all the way down this edge here. Fun fact, static electricity might make them jump up to meet your tape. That's always funny. All right, so now we've got this nice flappy bit of strips. Now, to make things easier, I'm going to turn this way so that you can see. So I want you to think of the strips as number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, and number 8. If you want to, you can actually write numbers on there. In fact, why don't I go ahead and do that so that you can see. So we've got number 1, number 2, 3, number 4, number 5, 6, 7, and 8. That way we'll know which ones we're working with. All right, so now that we've got that, you're going to take one of your red strips, and you're going to, for this row, we are going to pick up the odd numbers. So you're going to pick up number 1 and put the red on top of number 2. And I'm going to pick up number 3 and scoot it over so it's on top of number 4. Go for number 5 so it's on top of number 6. And go under number 7 so it's on top of number 8. Now you can scoot your paper so you've got pretty much the same amount sticking out on either side. And we've got a row. Now for our next row, I'm going to take another red strip, but this time you're going to pick up the even numbers. So pick up number 2 and put your strip under so that it's on top of number 1 and number 3. Then you can pick up number 4 so it is on top of number 5, and then you're going to go under number 6, over number 7, and under number 8. And then you're going to push this up so that it almost touches. And the paper will be grumpy about it. So go until it's too grumpy for you to deal with. Sometimes it's grumpier than others. I'll try not to, but then it'll be nice and snug, and you'll see it's starting to look a little bit like a basket. Okay, so we've done one of each, and that means we have to go do the odd group again. So we're going to lift up number 1 and go under. Going to lift up number 3 and go under. Lift up number 5 and go under. Make sure it goes over number 6. Lift up number 7 and go over number 8. Ta-da! All right, so you're going to scooch it up again so it's nice and snug. See how it's starting to look like a checkerboard? It's really cool. Now, as you're going along, once you've done all of one of these, or if you feel like you're getting the hang of it, you can kind of start to play with what pattern you do. So for instance, on this one, we definitely want to start out by going over number 1, just so it stays steady. But then what would happen if we went under 2 of them? And so maybe go under 2 and 3, and then over 4 and 5, under 6 and 7, and over 8. What does that look like? Hey, that's pretty neat. So by going over and under more than one area, you can actually make different patterns. It's kind of like making 8-bit pictures with only 2 colors. So if you want to, you can experiment with that. That's really fun to do with skinnier strips. If you look up traditional Native American weaving patterns, they do really interesting patterns like that, and you could try to make some of those. Figure out which strings, so which strips need to go over and which strips to go under to make a certain picture. So we've got another row like that. We're just going to finish this one checkerboard pattern. Now you don't have to stick to just 2 colors. You can do as many colors as you want. Like I said, it's actually really fun to do with pictures from a magazine. Or we're going to have another classic craft called plastic wrap painting. It's really fun to take your results from that and do a paper weaving with it. It just looks really fun. So you can do just about anything and make a paper weaving out of it. Just trying to get these all snuggled up. They stick together better that way. You can space them out if you want to, and then it'll look more like a basket than a checkerboard. But it tends to stick together better if we do it this way. All right, got another even row. We're gonna do another odd row. Now you might not use all of your short strips, just because it doesn't always work out that way. Right, so this one, we're gonna pick up 1 and 3 and 5. I'll say by now you probably have a hang of it. And that. Right. Then this one's gonna, oh, that paper's a little less exciting. I think my cat's got a hold of it. Put some bite marks on those pieces of paper. Oops. Oops. All right, I'm gonna go under here. They were very interested when I was practicing earlier in making the green and yellow one. All right. Yep. That's probably going to be the last one. I don't think we can fit another one after that. No, I don't think we can fit another one. All right, I'm going to move this down though. I'm going to scooch everybody this way a little. Make everything even. So you can see, you can still slide these all around. Now, obviously, if we picked this up and shook it right now, all the pieces would fall out, and we don't want that. So now that we have our really nice paper weaving, we are going to, oh, actually, let me scooch that over a little more. We're going to take the whole thing and gently flip it over to the other side. This is where you're going to take your other piece of paper, your extra piece, and so this one's still a little big. I'm going to trim a little bit off. Where did I put my scissors? There we go. So I'm going to trim a little bit off so that most of this paper is going to be hidden in the back, just so you don't have to see all of it, because the white's not very exciting. Now, if you wanted to leave lots of space between your strips and use a third exciting color, you can totally do that. But I did not do my project that way. Oh, I cut very crooked. Maybe I'll make that a little less crooked. Whoops. There we go. All right, so now it's a little smaller. Let's see if that fits a little better. Does it fit inside the corners? Got to take a little more off. All right. Take a little more off here. A little more off here. And it should fit pretty good. Oh yes, there we go. Ta-da! Okay, so you're going to take your white piece of, your back piece of paper, doesn't have to be white, but mine is white, and you are going to take your glue. Now you can use liquid glue if you want to, but let's face it, everybody likes a glue stick. Glue sticks are easy, they're a lot less messy, a lot more fun. Alright, so you're just going to cover the whole paper with glue. This is the one time you get to put lots and lots of glue on something. Try not to make it so globby though. If you make it too globby, it'll just squish. Alright, so we've got glue all over our paper, and you're going to flip it over and put the sticky side on the back of your paper weaving. Get it really good and stuck. Make sure to rub the whole thing. Make sure to stick those edges down. So it's kind of wrinkly, isn't it? That's okay. That's not the part we're going to see. We're going to see the other side, which is going to look really cool. All right, so we've got that really stuck on there. Now, before you do anything else with this, you're going to want to let that dry. So if you were planning to have it be a rug for some action figures, or you were going to stick it on the refrigerator, let it dry flat first. But then you can flip the whole thing over, and now you can take your tape and carefully, and it's okay if it rips the paper a little bit, carefully rip it off. Hey, look, it took my numbers too. Carefully rip it off. Ta-da! This part you can just throw away, but now you have a nice paper weaving. So like I said, you can do it with different sizes. So I made these a little smaller. You can see it's a little bit more complex, and you can experiment with going over 2 or over 3 or under 2 and see what different shapes and patterns you can make. You can even look up some traditional cloth patterns online and see if you can figure out how to make those woven patterns. Thank you again for tuning in. My name is Allison Brink. I'm the Education Director at the Marietta Cobb Museum of Art, and we will have another Arty party on Monday morning. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see y'all next week. Make fun things.